Hi guys, Mimi G here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing some of my favorite sewing books that I think are super important for beginners. So I have recently done a couple of videos where I'm talking about mistakes that unfortunately all new sewists make, and you sort of learn those things as you go along. But one of the things that I mentioned in that last video was learning how to fit your body. Now, I think you should start doing this as soon as you start to learn to sew. And we cover so much fitting in the Sew It Academy because I think it's the #1 thing that people get frustrated with when you're learning to sew. And trust and believe, it happened to me for a really long time when I first started learning to sew with patterns. Was I would make something and then it just didn't fit right for my body. And we are all built very differently. So you have to learn not just your body, but then how to sew for your body and to learn what alterations you need to make to those patterns. So I thought, let me do a video on books that I think are really important for new beginner sewists to have in their library. So the first one is The Complete Book of Sewing. This book has been with me since 1998, 99 maybe. I've had this book a really long time. It's super helpful because the pictures inside are so clear to understand. And one of the things that I really love is that, they cover everything. They cover, your different presser feet. They cover fabric, all these different techniques that you learn. They're all in this book and they're clearly illustrated, and I think it makes for the most important book that you should have. Now, there is another book called Vogue Sewing that I think every sewist has in her library, and it is really great. It is a fantastic book. But for me, having the practical step-by-step sewing guide with the super clear images was really helpful, especially when I was learning. So that's one of the books I for sure recommend. I will try and find all of these on my Amazon store, and I will link to them in the description box if you guys are interested. Also, you have the option of visiting your local library. I know that some libraries carry a nice amount of sewing books, so you might get lucky. The other one is called Professional Sewing Techniques for Designers. This is another really great illustrated book. It has really great illustration, pictures, steps. It has a lot of instruction. It covers everything. Literally, so much information in these books that you could literally just get one or the other. You don't even need both. And just sort of reference it whenever you're sewing and you sort of get stuck. If you're not, if you're not in the Sew It Academy, for example, and you're sort of self-teaching through YouTube, it's really good to have these books because they give you techniques that you want to learn. A lot of times, I mentioned this in the last video that I did talking about mistakes. YouTube might not be the greatest place to learn because not all videos are made the same. That's all I'm going to say about that. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to learning to fit your body, it's just as important as learning to sew, and you might as well start learning fit early on so that you can avoid a lot of frustration. There are so many books on fitting that are really helpful and have really clear instructions with photographs and step-by-step. So if you're not learning, let's say, fitting through a course or an online course or Sew It Academy or in school or wherever you're learning, these are really great resources to have. So the first one I've had all of these books a really long time. Fast Fit by Sandra Betsina. So easy pattern alterations for every figure. And what I love is that you can literally go through the book and it gives you, for example, a picture of what the wrinkles on your garment might look like so that you can reference to see what the problem might be. And then it gives you a solution and it tells you how to modify that pattern piece to sort of help with that issue, whatever that is. So this is a really great one. And then there's Pattern Fitting with Confidence by the late Nancy Zeman, who I had the pleasure of meeting in person. We spoke together at an event, and so I was truly honored that she even knew who I was. This is a really great book. It's also, sort of step by step, and they show you all the pattern pieces and how to slice and how to add and where to take away and what to pinch and all these different things that are so helpful when you're learning to sew and you're like trying something on and you don't know what the problem is. You just know that there's a lot of wrinkles or pulling or tugging in one area. You can sort of identify that in the book, find out what the damn problem is, and try to fix it. Then there's Fit for Real People. This is a Patty Palmer book. All of Patty Palmer's books are fantastic. This one is no exception. This one has everything that you can think of, and it does it by the body. So it's like the bodice, pants, skirts, dresses. Really helpful book. I cannot stress how helpful these books are. Here's another one by Patty Palmer. It's called Pants for Real People. This book is how I learned how to fit pants for my body. Let me tell you something. The one thing that I think is hardest for people to learn how to fit is pants. You learn fitting forever. There are things that I learn even now. I don't think learning ever ends. So for me, there are things that I learn every day as I'm sewing and sort of teaching and discovering different things. So don't think that this is something you need to learn all at once and have like this arsenal of fitting information that you sort of then have to go and execute. You can sort of go through the process, and as you're learning, find a problem, locate it in the book, see how you can fix it, and you're constantly learning. It's sort of an evolution. It never really ends. Pants for Real People made it so easy for me because it has photographs of, there's something in there. It has photographs of actual people's bodies and how to place that pattern piece against your body so that you can sort of identify, let me check to see if this is gonna fit before I even get started, and how to make, adjustments as you're going along. These are really helpful books. Another one, I haven't had as much experience with this book specifically because it is actually pretty new, maybe a year or two. I would say maybe 2. But I can speak to the person, right? To Kenneth King. So Smart Fitting Solutions by Kenneth King. They sent me this book probably, I guess maybe 2 years ago. I'm pretty sure. I went through it. I have referenced it several times, but like I said, I haven't really used this book as much as I've used all of these because, like I said, I learned to sew many, many moons ago, and so these books have been with me a long time. I will say, though, that I know Kenneth King personally. He has spoken at some of my conferences. I have brought him in, so I know him on a personal level, and I will say that anything that man teaches is gold. You know what I'm saying? So I had no doubt that this book was going to be great, and it is, just from me looking through it alone before I even actually put anything into practice. Very clear images, very great information, and Kenneth is a genius when it comes to so many different things. The last book that I'm going to talk about is called Sewing for Plus Sizes. This is a book that I first printed, I think, in '96. A couple of things. I think they should reissue this book and maybe change it a little bit and say Sewing for Curvy Shapes or something. I don't know, because just that stigma of plus size. If you're over a 14, you're considered plus size. I certainly sew over a 14. So, but what I do love about this book is that it was referred to me by somebody. And so a lot of times I have to teach myself things that I don't necessarily have to apply to my own body, but because I teach, I need to learn them. And so this is one of the books that was first given to me when I wanted to do a class on altering patterns for what was considered plus size patterns. Now, in the pattern industry, we have patterns that go up to a size 28, I think. Most of my simplicity patterns do go up to a 28. But what happens if you're past the measurements on that size? You're like, okay, now what do I do? So learning how to grade those patterns to fit you. So if you are buying the largest size pattern that comes available for you, but it still doesn't fit your measurements, this book is fantastic. It has so much information here, not just about specific plus size sewing, but in general. It talks about fabric, it talks about notions, it talks about all kinds of things. But what I loved is that it has a measuring chart, how to measure your body If, let's say, you are a curvy girl and you don't know exactly where to put that measuring tape, this is a really great guide. And then on top of that, what it does is it shows you how to alter those pattern pieces so that you can grade up as much as you need to fit your body. This was really helpful for me when I was learning how to teach that class specifically, but from other sewists that I know personally who have used this book, because the patterns unfortunately don't come in their size range, they swear by this book as far as giving them the ability to take a pattern, use whatever biggest size it comes in, and then making it fit their body by altering, knowing where to add, right? Do I add all of whatever I need to the side seams? Do I slash this, spread it, and add in different areas? Do I add all of the area that I need at the waistline at the hip, or can I add it in different places? This book, really great for that. So I would highly recommend all of these books. Like I said, you have a library near you. You can see if any or some of these might be there. If not, like I said, I will link to them on Amazon. I think they're really helpful. And aside from just learning in school or in class or online with Sew It Academy or self-teaching through YouTube, it always helps for you to take that step a little further and read the books, buy the books, and really just practice, because that's really how I learned, was over time and through practice. I want to say one last thing that I think is really important. Now, in the sewing community, you will hear a lot of people mention the wrinkles. Find the wrinkles, you're going to know what the problem is. But here's the thing. You have a human body, and your human body moves. So do not obsess over every little wrinkle or pulling or whatever it is that you see as you're sewing. That annoys me until no end, because I have seen people who sew their garments and post an image, and here comes somebody talking about it's pulling in the crotch or you got a wrinkle under your whatever. Listen, your body moves. Every time you move, even if it's slightly, you're gonna get a pull, you're gonna get a wrinkle, you're gonna get a something. So don't mistake just general movement and wrinkles and maybe slight pulling with fit issues, because it can become obsessive. So I want you to understand that there is a difference between wrinkles that are significant, that tell you what is going on with the pattern and maybe how you can fix it, and just the fact that we are not flat figures and that your body has shapes and curves, and that no matter how good a seamstress you are, you're gonna see some kind of fold or wrinkle or whatever, okay? So don't obsess. Final thing, just don't obsess. All right, guys, if you have questions about any of these books, please leave them in the comments below. I will talk to you soon. Peace.